Welcome back to 3224. This is Matt.
And this is Terrence. Matt, what's happening?
What's going on, man? Nervous.
You're nervous. Why?
Looking at me weird.
No, I'm just happy. It's finally good weather in Ohio for at least last week and a half.
That's like the 3 weeks of summer, so we better enjoy it.
Oh, man.
I don't know what we're doing inside recording this right now.
I know we should be outside, but we'll go outside at some point. But before we go outside, let's talk about this. What are we talking about today? We're talking about UFO disclosure. Today we want to dive into this weird fringe topic that Christians tend to avoid, or they are very, very much into it, so much so that they forget that at the end of the day, what matters is Jesus and the gospel. Not that these other things don't matter, but I think we should talk about it. We should think about certain things in life that, even though they are strange and they are outside our understanding, we should explore that. So let's talk about UFOs, or UAPs as they call nowadays, unidentified aerial phenomena. I think that's what it means. It takes a while for me to pronounce all those three words with my limited English. So let's start with this question. The question I have for you is, what are your thoughts on UFO, UAP, aliens?
I think there's credibility to it, because I think you see stuff that goes back that fits like this description of flying saucer, spaceship type thing that goes back. I mean, you see this like etched in stone in ancient civilization texts, right? Like, I mean, it's on cave walls and stuff like that, where you got this like weird looking humanoid figure in some kind of a capsule. And the story is that they travel to Earth in this vessel and they go back and forth. What that is, I have no idea.
Take a wild guess.
If I had to take a wild guess, I think in early cultures, it's most likely the sons of God coming from heaven to earth. And that was how they manifested their transportation from one realm to the other. If I had to venture a guess, I think that's where it's at. What we see today, I mean, it could be some of the same stuff. I don't know.
So, as a Christian, you and I are Christians. We attend the same church. We lead the same church in different capacities. But as Christians, how should we think of aliens? Should we just say, this is just government trying to deceive us? This is just sci-fi stuff? Or is there some credibility to this idea of the word alien? Extraterrestrial entities.
I don't know. I think there could be. So, my grandma told me, and this is what stuck with me, right? I mean, this is one of those.
Grandmas always have something.
I know, right? It's one of those foundational truths that, whether it's a truth or not, it's one of my foundational truths. And this may not be thus saith the Lord. This may be thus saith grandma, but, that the Bible was written for us on earth and our relationship with God. So could there be aliens that are not, and there's no biblical account of this because they don't matter in that
the biblical
focus,
narrative, right?
So could there be other civilizations out there? Could there be other creation stories out there? I think that answer is yes, and I don't think that really undermines anything that God's done, who He is, or anything like that. We just may be one of several dozens, hundred. I mean, I have no idea, but I don't think I think with our finite understanding of things, the universe, and even bigger than the universe, right? I mean, it's just like what God created and what's out there. I don't think we have the capability to understand. So I think that, yes, there's probably other things out there. there's a heaven and a hell out there somewhere, right? I mean, like these are places. They exist somewhere,
Right.
and where is that somewhere? I don't know.
So, my opinion on that is the Bible clearly says that aliens exist. Listen to me, don't laugh. What is an alien? An alien is an entity that is not of this earth. It's a extraterrestrial,
Right.
so it's not part of our earth, right? We believe in angels. We believe in spiritual beings. We believe that God created the heavens and the earth, and Job tells us that when God laid the foundation of the earth, the sons of God rejoice. So clearly they pre-exist humanity. So in that sense, I think aliens, as we call them angels, spiritual beings, they exist. However, when we say the word alien in a 21st century context, we mean something very specific. Most people think of aliens as what they call the grays, the small grays, the tall grays, and then there are tall whites, and there is a reptilian race, as they say. I don't know how much of that I subscribe to, but there's just stories about these things. Of course, along with some truth, there's always going to be lie. So it's hard for us to know how many kinds of alien races exist. Now, some of the most common pushback that we receive as Christians from other Christians is that angels are sort of a feminine beings, clean shave, fair skin with wings. And I go, where in the Bible do you find that? I don't think it's in the Bible.
No.
I think we think of angels as fair skin and feminine is because that's the way we have seen them in paintings. And of course, we put wings on them because the Bible tells us they come from one place to go another place. They fly. They come from the heavens to the earth, right? So we assume that they fly, and so we put wings on them. I don't think the Bible describes as angels having wings. Now, of course, cherubims, they have wings, the scripture tells us. And how much of that is actual, literal presentation and how much of that is actually just a symbolic language. That's a debatable subject. But I don't think... So other than God, see, God is the spirit, Jesus says, right, in John 4, God is the spirit, and everyone who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. God alone is omnipresent spirit, which means he is present everywhere at the same time. There is no such place where he's not present. Psalm 139 says he's even present. David says, where shall I go from your presence? If I go, take the wings and go to the other side of the ocean, you are there. If I go even in Sheol, he says, you are there. So God is the only spirit that is omnipresent. But these other spirits, we call them angels, other spiritual beings, I don't think they're formless or bodiless. Right. I think they have some sort of physicality, and Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 15 when he's fighting for the resurrection. He's proving the resurrection, and he's talking about how there are earthly bodies, and then there are heavenly bodies, and then there are the glory of the heavenly bodies is different than the glory of the earthly body, and that's true even on this earth. The glory of lion is different than the glory of kangaroo. I mean, they both have bodies, but they both have different kinds of bodies, and they both have different royalty, or I don't know, royalty. Kangaroo doesn't have royalty. Lion is majestic. Kangaroo is not. I hope people can understand kangaroo, what I mean by kangaroo. It's just, unless I say like an Australian, a kangaroo. I don't know if Australians say it that way, but the point I guess I'm trying to make here is spiritual beings tend to have some physicality. Yeah. They are not limitless. They are not omnipresent. They go from one point to another point. And it is not wrong for us to assume that they can use technology to do that. And so when we talk about UFO or UAPs, it is not far-fetched idea that angels, these spiritual beings, we call them the sons of God. The Old Testament often uses the word Elohim to describe, of course, God of Israel, who is the unique one kind of God, the only self-existing Yahweh. But then there are other spiritual beings that are also called Elohim. Psalm 82, for example. And these Elohim may use technology, and these are advanced beings because they were created before us, and then God has made them with wisdom. God has made them with the ability to create, and as Genesis 6 says, procreate. So, do I believe in angels? Do I believe in aliens? And the answer is absolutely. Do I believe that every single UFO flying around is an alien technology? I don't. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have thoughts on that.
I do have thoughts on that. I've got a fun story about that one.
I love stories.
Yeah, it's story time. I get to talk for a little bit for a change on this one. So I was a Marine. I'm a Marine. I don't know how you say that. Not
Thank you for your service.
Yep. And I was stationed out in the desert, and was out there for a couple weeks for desert training at a gas station right off the base. And, everybody at the gas station is pointing and taking pictures. And I'm like, what is going on over? I'm thinking like literally, like I'm looking at where it's at, and I'm like, that's right on the airfield. I'm like, did something just crash? And it's not. It's like the sun, it's, late in the day. So the sun's kind of low in the sky. And everybody's pointing to this thing. It's hovering, and it's kind of spinning around. And the light's hitting it. It looked like a flying saucer. And like tons of people taking pictures of this. It's a flying saucer. It's a flying saucer. And I'm like, it is like literally like you can see the fence of the airfield. And I'm like, this is clearly like on the airfield property. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is that? And I realized that, back in that time, we had Harrier jets. One of the things that they did for training, it was a short takeoff, vertical landing aircraft. So they would literally hover straight up like a helicopter. They would do a 360, and then they would land. And that's how the pilots would practice balancing the aircraft and all that, going through those maneuvers so that when they're out at sea and they have to do this on a ship, it's just second nature to them. So, a lot of people went home seeing a UFO that day and having pictures to show their families and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you look at it and you can pretty quickly, once you know what you're looking at, discern what that is and just where it's at, on the airfield, that, hey, this is where they do that. I think even some of the other accounts that we hear about, this thing had flashing lights and it would just zip this way and zip that way, and it could spin around and change directions really quick. And it's like, well, 10 years ago, you're like, man, that's a pretty cool aircraft. Now you're like, yeah, I can buy that. It's called a drone, and it's $37 at Walmart right now, like, so you got to figure, technology has gotten smaller since then. So the initial drones were probably pretty big in size, just because of the battery technology of the day and the motor technology. We've come a long way in all of that. So, I think a lot of that, what you see coming out of like the late 80s and the 90s is, probably either private companies or the government, really developing what we would call drones today that are fairly inexpensive. Realtors have drones that they fly and take pictures of your house now. I think a lot of what we see is explainable. And, we don't you get a lot of grainy images, and it's really hard to take pictures of stuff like that if the lighting's not right and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we know the downfall of camera technology just from our own podcast if you don't get the lighting right.
Right.
So, I think it leads to the imagination. I think people, and it really, I think, ties back to how God created us. God created us to connect with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you don't know him, you want to connect with something that you don't like. You know that there's a hole there, and you want to fill that with something. You know that there's more than just the world.
Yeah.
And you want to fill that with something. So I think it's.
So are you saying that are you saying that UFOs and aliens and the whole narrative exists? It's because it's just people think they want it? Is it something that just exists in our psyches as people?
I think it's embellished because of that. I mean, I really think that there is something there. I mean, like I said, you go back to ancient civilizations,
right?
And this is recorded on stone walls and caves, right? I mean, like, this isn't like somebody jot down some notes. There's a picture from a cell phone somewhere. Like, somebody put effort into carving that.
Right.
So I think part of it is true. And I think part of it is imaginations and some embellishment. You see something, you don't know what it is. You make up a narrative because you want there to be aliens out there. I mean, I think
would it be accurate to say that out of 100 UFO sightings, maybe 2 or 3 of them are legit and the rest of them are, I mean, I don't have any way to give statistics on this, but it seems like out of 100, probably 90 times it's just either one of our planes or whatever, drones, or a satellite or a weather balloon or who knows what. And then there are maybe 5% chances of seeing something that is actually alien, something that's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think the majority of what and I mean, you got to think too, we're still developing tomorrow's technology, right? So,
so my question is, so there's this group of people. I mean, if you listen to podcasts, and of course, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there about aliens and alien tech and all that. And some people say, well, there was a crash in the 1948 or something like that. And we sort of took it from there. Our government reverse engineered and created these crafts. And what do you think about all those things? Do you think there is some truth in there, that there was an actual UFO crash, and then we reverse engineered from that and came up with the technology? Because I mean, technology is growing exponentially. It's crazy what we have in the last 50 years than what humanity has ever seen in the last, who knows, thousands of years.
Yeah, I think it's 2 different things. One, to answer your question, do I think there was a UFO crash and
it was in Roswell?
I could probably flip a coin. I'm probably 50-50 as to whether or not that happened. I think there's been enough time now that whatever was there has been dismantled and we'll never figure out where it got moved to piece by piece. I don't think that necessarily led to great technology leaps for us. Because, I mean, if you're talking about an alien craft, there's probably alien minerals and tech and all like stuff that we just wouldn't be able to reverse engineer. I think the exponential curve that we see in our technology path is just, I think it's more linear than we think it is. It's just what we have today. You just look at the progression, and yeah, I mean, it's speeding up because we have computing power now. And I think really that's where you see the ability, when we really switched and industrialized, and you can now, people aren't trying to just survive. They're not, working for their home business, trying to make enough money to walk next door to the bakery and buy some food for tonight. You're really investing. People can now, there's farmers out there that are mass farming. So they're providing food for people who can now go spend time thinking about the next great thing. And then other people who are designing the next great thing and all that kind of stuff. So I think we've just become specialized, and that speeds things up. And now, we have cell phones and all that kind of stuff. The amount of computing power and just the access to information that we have just blows that timeline up.
So you think all the information that we have, all the technology we have, is simply because humans are smarter and getting smarter and figuring things out faster than our ancestors could? Or you think there is some intervention from some of these extraterrestrial entities? I'm thinking about this because when the sons of God came to the earth, when they took human wives, and this is I think it's in Book of Enoch, that talks about how there was a trade, how these sons of God taught humans to make medicine and wield sword, and basically they were teaching them how to industrialize and how to grow and how to make things work and stuff like that. And in exchange, they were given wives. So I wonder that if every human invention is purely human, and I'm not doubting human ability. I think God has made humanity with so much ability and so many gifts and talents. So I'm not questioning that. But sometimes I wonder whether everything that we know today is simply because we are smart, or is there some spiritual component to that?
I think this trade of information for wives survived for a time. You look at ancient civilizations and, like the Mayan empires, how they were able to understand the stars and planets and align all of this stuff. How they figured out how to move really heavy, really big things and put them in place with a lot of precision.
Yeah, they had giants.
I think yes. And I think that's where a lot of that information was being traded. Like how did we so quickly understand the rotation of the stars for navigation? That would take, you would have to record that for an extremely long time to start realizing patterns. And how are you going to record that? And what's your reference and all that? That impresses me about how ancient civilizations understood that, and the alignments that you get on the pyramids and all these other structures and, Stonehenge and all that kind of stuff. Just the engineering feat that goes into that, I think that's where a lot of these beings did help. And I think that's where a lot of that happened. But then I think once you start figuring some of that stuff out, God created some pretty amazing brain power in us and gave us the ability to figure things out. Could there be people that are coming and influencing ideas and throwing stuff out there and then disappearing? Or, I think maybe.
I think the spiritual world is more intertwined with the physical world than we can we sometimes give credit to. I think there is a lot of give and take. Talking about demons always influence people to do stupid things, right? And they lead into temptation and then lead people into sin and all that kind of stuff. So we can say with certainty that the spiritual world does influence our world, and mostly for bad. And then, of course, we have the Spirit of God living in us, who influences us to do the good. Isaiah 61, Jesus says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me," and then he goes on to describe what that means, to set the captives free and preach the gospel to the poor and on all of that. So the spiritual world, I think, has influence or rather, I would say the spiritual world influences our world way more than we like to think. I want to go back to the whole Roswell crash that happened in 1948, and I just thought about this. I never thought about this before, but I find that timing to be a little strange because, and this is just me thinking out loud, I haven't really thought through this, and so bear with me, guys. 1948, I think it's in the month of May, when Israel became a nation. And then I think we see a lot of UFO activities starting at that point up until now. Not saying there wasn't anything before, but I think it's like some sort of a door got opened up, or something happened at that historic point when Israel became a nation after, I think, 2,000 years, probably more than 2,000 years, as they got back into the land and began to claim their land and all that stuff. So I find that timing to be interesting because the return of Christ I think it has a lot to do with the nation of Israel, the land of Israel, the people of Israel. Regardless of where people stand today in their political views in terms of Israel and the people, and I'm not a big fan of what's happening right now in the Middle East. I'm not approving, and not that anyone cares for my approval, but I just feel like that the Lord's not done with the nation of Israel. What I mean by nation of Israel is I'm talking about the Jewish people, because God made a covenant with them. And so again, this is probably a whole different podcast. We can talk about this, but I just found that timing to be quite interesting. That could it be that this was sort of a restarting of that clock, that end time clock, that church age that started 2,000 years ago on Pentecost is sort of coming to the close. And Israel becoming a nation is that, I don't know how to put that in words, but it's just that prophetic time is ticking as we approach the return of Christ. Again, considering if these aliens are what we call the sons of God and the spiritual beings, as we often think of, if they are from some planet far, far, far from our galaxy, I don't know what to make of that. And I just want to say that doesn't make any difference to me in terms of my faith in Jesus. I mean, if they come from some far galaxy, okay. I mean, I'm okay with God making a universe that's so big. And listen, God made the ocean, and it's huge, and it's filled with life.
Yep.
So I have no problem with universe
life
being
that we're
vast.
Still discovering today, right? I mean, like, we have not discovered the 90%
of the ocean, right, is still undiscovered. So we don't know what's down there, let alone what's out there.
Yep.
So I got no issue with life outside our little tiny earth. That doesn't affect my theology. Jesus Christ is the Lord of all. That includes those people from the different planet as well. But if these aliens are not from another planet, but if they are from a different realm or different frequency, or I don't know what kind of word you want to use, if they are from the spiritual world, I think we as Christians got to be careful with what we do with that information. I don't think so. Here's one thing that I have heard a lot of Christians say about aliens. People say that they are demons. I don't think aliens are demons. I think demons are very specific things. Those are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. They are disembodied, but these aliens tend to have a body.
Right.
So whatever they are not demons. Are they malevolent? I think so. I think UFO, I'm sorry, not UFO, but there has been so many cases of abduction, and none of those cases has been pleasant for people who have experienced that. Now, again, I know people go like, yeah, all that is just, made up stories. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think people people can lie. People can lie all the time. But if, let's say, out of 100 people, 95 people are lying, you still have 5 people who are not lying. What do you do with that? with their story. So if we say even out of those 5 people, one person is right and is accurately describing his experience of abduction, I think it begs the question that what do we do with that? Yeah. So if these phenomena are real, if these abductions are real, then I think the case is pretty clear, at least in my mind, that these aliens are nefarious, malevolent beings. They can put on a body. They can be what we call the watchers or the sons of God. These spiritual beings, and God alone knows how many different kinds of those spiritual beings exist. And I got no problem with believing that there are millions different types of spiritual beings that exist, because God is a very creative God. I mean, just look around. Every leaf is different. Every animal is different, and every species has its own uniqueness. So why do we limit God when it comes to the universe? So there's a whole lot out there, and that's why God tells in the Old Testament, "Hey, don't you dare go to the other gods. If you go to them, they'll deceive you, because they're real. They exist." Right. You know, unlike what we have been taught is like, yeah, they're just idols. They don't talk. They're not real. No, they are real. There is a spiritual power behind that.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a commandment that you should have no other gods before me if there weren't gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a guy telling his girlfriend, you are not allowed to date anyone, but you are just on an island with nobody else other than that guy. It's like, yeah, there's no one exists for me to date anyone, you know? So that's yeah. So I think aliens are real. I think UFO phenomena are real. I think we as Christians should be very careful how we think about that. We have a tendency to demonize everything. Television came and we said it's from the devil. The internet came, we said it's from the devil. Cell phones came, it's from the devil. UFOs, it's from the devil. I think this time I think we are right, though. I think it's depending on your eschatology. I think this is part of the end time scenario that we are walking into. The great deception that will happen. I mean, I think Steven Spielberg's coming out with a movie. And he mentioned that when this disclosure will happen in its fullness, it will rock so many people's faith. So many people will leave religion. And if he knows something that we don't know, I don't know if he's just promoting his movie by making these kind of claims. I
can't imagine he knows something.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's the one who's been after this topic for quite some time. I mean, there are people who probably know a lot. They are influential people. Yeah. And sometimes, so here's the other part of UFO that we I think we should talk about is it's a religion. People can actually summon UFOs, and people do some sort of ritual, and they show up. I mean, there are stories when people pray to these entities and these UFOs show up. So it's clearly not just a race of aliens from a different planet driving around. I think there's some spiritual power behind these. So anyway, I don't know where I was going with all of that, but I think as Christians, we got to be very careful that we don't get involved in these occultic practices of summoning UFOs and wishing to see one. I think it's kind of natural curiosity for us to like, I want to see one. No, you don't. I don't think you want to see a UFO. What you should be looking for is Jesus.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that at the end of the day, is there a place for UFOs in a Christian theology? I mean, I think there's a place for the question of, is there a place for UFOs in a Christian theology, right? I mean, I think, that's really our question with it is, where do these fit in? Does that change anything? And like you said, at the end of the day, it doesn't change who God is. It doesn't change what Jesus did on the cross. Yeah. None of that is changed whether UFOs are real or not. So whatever end of the spectrum or anywhere in between that you lie, that's That's fine. I think this is something we will not have answers to this side of heaven. And, I think when we go to heaven, we're going to be blown away at how vast creation really is.
Right.
What the universe, what galaxies, all of that. I mean, we were talking the other day, and it's, you've got this ever expanding universe. Like, it's just everything's constantly pushing out, and like, to where and why, why is everything drifting apart? So, I think we have this very small view of what creation is and what heavenly beings are out there and what other spiritual beings are out there. And I mean, the fact is UFO sightings are rare. UFO abductions are rare. And I think most of them aren't accurate. I think most of them are chemical induced, but I think that there's I think there are true cases, and I think there is some truth to it. What they are, whether, they're evil beings or, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know that I want to know the answer to that question. Right?
I agree. I think we tend to put everything in this box or that box, right? It's either good or bad. It's day or night kind of thinking. And sometimes I wonder that the truth is probably not in this box or that box. It's somewhere.
Could they be adolescent children just pushing the boundaries?
Alien children, you mean?
Yes. Are they like heavenly adolescents just testing the boundaries, and then they get caught and they get called back? And
So what I was thinking about was, as you were talking, I'm like, spiritual beings are like human. They have the ability to do good or evil, right? God made them with the ability to do good and evil, I think. But as they continue on that path of evil, I think at some point they completely hate God and completely want to see destruction. But if these fallen sons of God are using technology, I don't think it's far-fetched to think that even angels, good ones, are also using technology. I mean, who knows? I mean, I was reading Ezekiel chapter 1, and a lot of people think it's just Ezekiel having a encounter with a UFO. I don't think it's that. I mean, I don't know. It could be. I would like to ask him when I see him in heaven, whether it was a UFO or what. But I want to ask this, and I think we should wrap this up pretty quick here. As a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, how would you think? Of course, we talked about that, but what would you tell other Christians? How do you think we should think about these topics as sober-minded but vigilant Christians, and think clearly without being distracted? What would you say?
I mean, I think the ultimate truth is the Bible. And don't forget who God is. And if anything in this realm of things diminishes that, then it's probably not accurate.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for believing it exists and wanting to explore it, but I think you've got to guard yourself from going down rabbit holes and really getting mired in it, because there is an enemy actively working to pull you away from God, right? So, I mean, whatever that is, I mean, that can take on many different forms, but if there's an obsession over UFOs and aliens and understanding this that takes away from your time with God, then the enemy won, right? The enemy used this as a stumbling block and won.
Yeah.
So I think, like, is it fun to talk about? Like, it makes a great podcast episode, and we're going to get tens of thousands of views and listens. And,
amen to that.
We're going to use some name it, claim it faith while we're here too.
Last time I tried, it didn't work, so I don't think it works.
It did not work.
But no, I think I just want to echo that. I think you just hit the bullseye. I think sometimes we Christians can be so distracted by all the evil that is happening in this world, as if we're surprised by it, like the Epstein file. Oh, how can that happen? Right. How could such a man exist? And then UFO files, right? I mean, the government starts putting everything online, and everyone's like, let's just dive into this. And I think that obsession is problematic whenever we are focused on something other than Christ. In fact, as I'm preparing my message for this Sunday, I'm reminded in Joshua 13, where God tells Joshua, he's like, you are old, your time is about to come, and there is still much work to do. And I just thought about, like, we all have a limited time, and there's a lot to do. I mean, there is a kingdom of God that needs people who can work for God, who can preach the gospel, who can share the gospel. And if we are so focused on these other things like aliens or what a demon is, and again, it's good to know, as Matt already said, it's good to have a conversation once in a while, but make sure that you are fixated upon the face of Jesus Christ. You are looking upward, not to see a UFO, but you're looking upward to see Jesus Christ coming. And I think that's where we should focus our energy, our thoughts, our giftings, our skills. We should be investing all of that to see how we can make a difference in this world, instead of being so occupied with the kingdom of darkness and all the circus that the enemy is doing all around us.
Yep. So I'll read Philippians 4:8 because I think it puts that biblically. That finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Right. And why is that in the Bible? Because it's really easy
to
focus on the exact opposite of those things. Right. And those are the things that we tend to focus on. Yeah. And I think, when we sit here in life and go, God, why aren't good things happening to me? It's because we don't give him credit for the good things that have happened to you and are happening to you. And it's like,
totally.
If you're in the US, you're probably in the top couple percent of the world, even if, you have a roof over your head. We have cars. We take a lot of things for granted.
We do.
And I think, is there a place to have these conversations? I think yes. Right. Do you meditate on them? Do you obsess over them? Yeah. I mean, that answer is no. I mean, it's fun for us to talk about it, figure out. I mean, it challenges your faith and puts other things in perspective too.
Sure.
As we have these conversations, but when it crosses that and you start investing time and energy and resources and seeking these things out, that's when it becomes a problem.
For some odd reason, I feel convicted today. No, I feel a little convicted today. I think I should be focusing more on Jesus, and I think we all should do that. And I think it's good that we do that. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up. Before we do that, Matt has a special announcement. Matt, go ahead.
I do. So you'll probably hear this right around our 2-year anniversary as a podcast. I know we've been doing this for 2 years already. We've kind of done it just as a running podcast, trying to get something out once a month or so. We both have full-time jobs, and this is kind of a backseat thing that we're doing. So we are moving forward, going to try and break things up into I forget the word now.
Different seasons?
Different seasons. Yeah, we're going to break it up. So we're going to call this first 2 years season 1.
That's right.
And then we will most likely go dark for a little bit. Yeah. And we're going to revamp some things, and maybe we'll put some short content out or something like that in the meantime. But we're going to revamp some things and really try and put a season of 8 to 12 episodes or something like that around a topic so that, you know, each season is a little more intertwined than just kind of jumping all over the place. Our preparation for these is pretty minimal right now, and we usually talk about what we're going to talk about on the way over and what do we want to talk about today. So you get the raw version of it. So not much research, you know, we're just talking about what's off the top of our head. Not going to change much of that, but we're going to be a little more intentional about trying to group things together. So, you know, we're not jumping from mental health to aliens and to Bigfoot and Nephilim and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, you won't hear from us for a little bit, but we will be back with season 2 once we have that wrapped up.
That's right. Yeah. No, as you said, our intentions here are to just help you think as we think through, or at least we think we think through.
We think through it, whether we're right or not. It's a whole nother story.
A lot of our conversations are speculative as well, and so this is not a place to learn theology. You should go to your church to learn that. This is a place where we talk about theology and everything supernatural. 3224 comes from Genesis 32:24, where Jacob wrestled with the angel of the Lord. And so our desire here is to just wrestle with the spiritual world that is around us and try to understand a little better. And we promise that we'll try to improve, and we try to do better in season 2 than what we have done in past 2 years. The word try is the word you might want to remember. Anyway, having said that, we'll take some time off, but hopefully we'll see you guys. We're not really taking
time off. You just won't hear from us.
Right. We are not taking time off, but they are taking time off from us for some time. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for today.
All right.
All right.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.